The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Live from Los Angeles.
Hooah! Here we go!
This is exciting, isn't it?
We'll do it live. We'll do it live! Fuck it!
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Greetings, Deado Universe. How the hell are you? It's Kyle Ploof. Hope everybody's doing well out there. It's another Monday. Hope you started the week off right. Today is going to be a show full of stories that some of these people didn't start the week off right. And you know what? That's what we're here for. For a little bit of, you're able to compare yourself. You shouldn't compare yourself. Comparison is the thief of joy. Unless you're comparing yourself to people who have fucked up their lives beyond repair. And you go, well, things might not be so bad here. So we got a full show tonight, like I said, beginning with a story that it sounds like an engineered psyop. Like the headline is just so insane. I'm sure you guys have heard about this guy, Nicholas Rossi. And if you haven't, buckle up. Nicholas Rossi spent years claiming that Nicholas Rossi was dead. People were alleging that he created an entirely new identity, fled to Europe, and insisted that the tattoos identifying him as an American fugitive had somehow been placed on his body by someone else, particularly the nurses that worked at the hospital. He eventually failed to convince courts that he was an Irish orphan named Arthur Knight. He was extradited, tried, convicted, and sent to prison, and now Nicholas Rossi, as of June 29th, 2026, Nicholas Rossi is officially dead. So the fugitive who faked his own death actually dies. It's kind of the title of this story. Nicholas Rossi was pronounced dead at a Utah hospital on Thursday night, June 25th. He was 38 years old. The Utah Department of Corrections says Rossi died from complications connected to an existing medical condition after choosing to discontinue medical treatment. Rossi had spent years trying to convince the world that he was either already dead or that he had never been Nicholas Rossi in the first place. This guy deserves to be in the Bullshitters Hall of Fame. Because even in the face of being on the national news saying, I am not this man, he had tried to change the way he looked, gained a bunch of weight, ran from Rhode Island to Utah to Scotland, of all places. So how did everything end up happening? Rossi, he was also known by his actual birth name was Nicholas Oliverdian. Oliverdian. He had connections to Rhode Island, where he had presented himself publicly as an advocate for children in the state's foster care system, which is a known place, a breeding ground for predators, and he was one of those people. Behind the public persona, multiple women accused him of manipulation, financial exploitation, abuse, and sexual violence. 2 women in Utah accused him of raping them in separate incidents in 2008. One woman said she went to an apartment to recover money that Rossi had taken from her to buy a computer. She testified that he then raped her inside the apartment. The other woman met Rossi through a Craigslist personal advertisement. They began dating and became engaged within weeks. She testified that he repeatedly pressured her for money, asked her to assume debt, and then raped her. Jesus. So apparently in 2018, the authorities found this old sexual assault kit, and they're like, hey, we haven't tested this yet, even though we're definitely supposed to. And once they tested it, they realized that the DNA was connected to Rossi. So at that point in 2018, investigators, they were mobilizing. They're like, all right, it's time to get this friggin' guy. And then word went all over social media that Nicholas Rossi had died. The BBC put together this little 3-minute package that kind of goes over the case, and we're going to listen to it here. It is bizarre that any of this happened in the first place, and the way it was even uncovered is actually pretty insane, because it's the one good thing that came out of the pandemic was that they were able to actually find out who this guy was, because he was staying in the hospital after being sick from COVID.
I'm not Mr. Rossi at all. I'm Arthur Knight. I said the game is...
I'm Arthur Knight. He's trying to sound like he's Bane. I'm Arthur Knight. Well, that was Sean Connery. He looks like Fat Bane. Varicose Banes.
The foot. It's already started.
This is the extraordinary story of Nicholas Rossi, a fugitive who American prosecutors say faked his own death and fled to Scotland. It began when he was spotted and arrested in a Glasgow hospital while being treated for COVID. He claimed he was Arthur Knight, an Irish orphan, but a Scottish judge has ruled he is Nicholas Rossi.
I am but a wee Irish orphan. I've never hurt anybody in my life. Oh, well, then why do you have all the tattoos, the same exact tattoos as this sex offender from Rhode Island? Me don't know. Oh, wow.
This is 12 News Now.
Rossi's case made international headlines.
Authorities say a Rhode Island man faked his own death and then hid out in Scotland.
A story so bizarre it felt like a film script.
Your oxygen mask is not connected.
So I have to hold his full weight.
He had to be reminded by his handler that his oxygen mask was not connected because he was like, thank God I have this on. It's not connected. And here, Miranda Knight, the wife of Arthur Knight, she's really going to bat for him here.
Do you see?
Do you see?
He protested he was the victim of mistaken identity.
I can't make it any clearer, Stephen. I am Arthur Knight.
He claimed he'd never been to America.
What the fuck? I am Arthur Knight. But he's scheduling these national interviews around Scotland and England and Ireland. The UK already has his face on the nightly news, and he's willingly going on, being like, it's not me, I'm Arthur Knight, Stephen.
But across the Atlantic were people who saw through the performance.
And you were always absolutely certain it was him. 100% I was the whistleblower. I've known Nick 22 years. I know him better than anybody.
Fucking Brian Coogan. If you're trying to pull one over, you're not pulling it over Brian fucking Coogan. The wool can go over some other people's eyes, but the people from the Northeast are like, that motherfucker's lying. I know that's him, that piece of garbage.
In Rhode Island, people knew Rossi as Nick Alaverdian, a child welfare campaigner. Politicians even paid tribute to him when they were told he'd died.
I'd like to join in the memory of my friend, and I guess some of the people may know him also, Nicholas Alaverdian, who had a battle with cancer.
Poor guy. This guy, Ray Hull, he was, someone who worked with Nick Rossi, Alaverdian, whatever his goddamn name is, in the political circles in Rhode Island. And he seemed a little torn up. He's like, my good friend has died from cancer, and we should have a moment of silence for him. Seems like a very sweet, genuine dude. The story continues.
An obituary that appeared online claimed Nicholas Alaverdian had been cremated and his ashes scattered at sea. His final words, fear not, and run towards the bliss of the sun. Final words? He writes his own obituary and makes sure to say what his final words are. Fear not and run towards the sun, toward the bliss of the sun, which is the complete opposite of what he did. He had a lot of fear and ran toward the bliss of the Scots. In reality, Rossi was a convicted sex offender who'd fled to the UK and morphed into Arthur Knight before COVID stopped him in his tracks.
Once we determined that he was in a Scottish hospital, we were able to confirm through photographic confirmation and DNA that we had our man, so to speak.
Then later on, I find out Nick is alive. It's in Glasgow, is that right? I said, I don't believe it. I was like, wow.
Yeah. He was arrested after hospital staff recognised him from an Interpol wanted notice. He said he was framed, even claiming that he was given identical tattoos to Rossi as he lay unconscious on the COVID ward. He got identical tattoos from a ragtag group of nefarious tattoo artists that wanted to make sure he got set up. This random guy, Arthur Knight, in Glasgow. We got to pin it on this one fucking guy. Like there wasn't people holed up in hospitals everywhere. Like you got this internationally devastating disease. Hospitals can't even keep up. People getting sick left and right. They're running out of room to store people. They're having to hire trucks, rent out truck spaces and trailers. People rotting away inside non-air conditioned trucks and trailers. In the middle of all that, they weren't even letting people in the hospitals, really. You couldn't even say goodbye to people you cared about. But somehow, some way, they Ocean's 11'd
a tattoo gun in and made sure to pin this random dude's tattoos on this guy, Arthur Knight, who's just an Irish orphan. An orphan, by the way. Very convenient that nobody... I'm just an orphan. My parents have died. I haven't been kept track of at all. I just randomly fucking appeared here. Just spawned in. No backstory, nothing. And don't worry about these tattoos. They must have seen it on the Interpol headshots. It's not headshots, were they? Mugshots.
We heard in court, though, that you were identified by tattoos. Is it worth seeing your left forearm?
I just showed you a photo of it.
Yeah, but could I mean...
I just showed you a photo of it. He's just like, just show me the tattoo on your arm. I just showed you a photo of it.
Could you just
honestly, I'm exhausted and
also just looking at the oxygen, we're getting a little bit low as well.
There was one picture I saw. He's in red silky pajamas. Those were the same pajamas he wore when I was with him.
Wow.
You think those were...
That's Nick Rossi's ex-wife from the States saying he's wearing the same exact pajamas he would wear every night.
The exact same...
The exact. I don't think I know those were the exact same PJs.
Slowly, the Arthur Knight charade has been unpicked. Nicholas Rossi faces serious allegations in the United States.
Yeah, and he did, and he was found guilty. And he tried as he might. So that first death, the first online obituary was announcing that Rossi had died on February 29th, 2020. They said that he had died from non-Hodgkin lymphoma. He said, Nicholas Alaverdian, this is the obituary he wrote for himself. Nicholas Alaverdian, July 11th, 1987 to February 29th, 2020. Nicholas Alaverdian's battle for his life ended on February 29th, 2020. The battle for his life. He was a warrior, not just a convicted sex offender. The children and families in the care of the Rhode Island Department of Children, Youth, and Families, for whom he inspired and led through turbulent government transgressions, have lost a warrior that fought on the front lines for 2 decades. Oh, of course. What a pat on the back. They have lost him. These families. These poor families have lost a warrior fighting for them. Mr. Alaverdian died 2 months after going public with his diagnosis of non-Hodgkin lymphoma. He was in his 32nd year. At the bedside were Mrs. Alaverdian, their 2 children, and extended family. His last words were, "Fear not and run towards the bliss of the sun." At the time of his passing, the room was filled with the sounds and of the end credits for the 1997 film Contact by composer Alan Silvestri, a film and score which held special meaning towards Mr. Alaverdian. If I was Alan Silvestri, I'd be like, hey, can you shut the fuck up about that? It was a nice little score. Now it's got your dirty little mitts all over it. Mr. Alaverdian was a devout Roman Catholic. In keeping with his wishes, his earthly remains were cremated and his ashes were scattered at sea. And it's crazy that people believed all this because his wife had to have been like, what the fuck? There was no family surrounding you as you died. There was no scattering you at sea. What the absolute hell is going on? But police, Rossi's former attorney, and members of a former foster family questioned whether he was really dead. There were already reasons to suspect that Rossi had created the obituary himself and disappeared. In December 2021, a man was receiving treatment for COVID-19 at a hospital in Glasgow, Scotland. Hospital employees recognized distinctive tattoos shown in an international wanted notice. One of those tattoos was the crest of Brown University, even though Rossi had never attended Brown. Shit, I should get one. I didn't attend there, but I performed there a few times. Doing some stand-up comedy back in the day. The crest of Brown University. Oh my God. Authorities arrested the patient in Glasgow. The patient responded by insisting that he was not Nicholas Rossi. He said his name was, my name's Arthur Knight. According to the story he presented, Arthur Knight was an Irish orphan who never lived in the United States and had been mistaken for a fugitive he did not know. I have no connection to this man other than having the exact same tattoos. A very similar build and look. Identical height. But what do you mean? He doesn't have a wheelchair. I have a wheelchair. I never saw that man in a wheelchair. Became a giant performance. Rossi appeared in court using the wheelchair, an oxygen mask, and an exaggerated British accent. He repeatedly denied that he was American. He claimed authorities had confused him with somebody else. He challenged fingerprint evidence. He challenged photographic comparisons. He challenged the tattoos that the hospital employees had used to identify him. At different points, Rossi suggested that the identifying tattoos had been placed on his body without his consent. But the evidence continued to point back to Nicholas Rossi. That's when you just gotta give it up and say, you know what? This is all pretty silly, huh? But people, they'll dig their heels in, and his heels are firmly placed in the wheelchair footrests. Scottish courts determined that Arthur Knight and Nicholas Rossi were the same person, so he was extradited. The Scottish court systems were like, hey man, we're sending you out of here. But then he was like, my health is too poor to travel. He continued insisting that he was an innocent Irish citizen being transferred to the United States because of an enormous case of mistaken identity. Rossi was extradited from Scotland to Utah in January 2024. He had faced 2 separate trials involving the 2 Utah women. 2 juries convicted him in 2025. He was convicted in both. DNA evidence locked it down. A judge described Rossi as a serial abuser of women. He received consecutive sentences amounting to at least 10 years in prison, with the possibility of remaining incarcerated for life. Even after sentencing, Rossi continued claiming that the women were lying and that he had been wrongly convicted. The Department of Corrections hasn't come out and said why he died, what the condition actually was. They have only said that he experienced complications after choosing to discontinue medical treatment. And he was pronounced dead at 8:32 p.m. on June 25th, so 4 days ago here. So I wonder what's going on with his wife, because what the hell is going on with that? His wife, Miranda Knight. She was the one standing by his side. She was kind of making excuses for him during those interviews. Like, oxygen's getting a little low. We just came over here to watch the Scots play some footy. And now he's got new tattoos. I know that's not a Scottish accent, but that's kind of the accent they were putting on. So what's up with her? I'm looking it up right now. His wife, Miranda Knight, stood by his side and stood by his claims that he was an Irish orphan named Arthur Knight during his extradition proceedings in Scotland. She continues to face public and media scrutiny regarding her involvement in his schemes to evade justice. Okay. Apparently there was a podcast. I'm going to have to check this out. They uncovered audio recordings of a voice which they identified as Miranda's, arranging a memorial service for Rossi back when he was falsely claiming to be dead in 2020. There's a strong consensus that she was actively complicit in his deceptions, including his fraudulent business dealings, and he fabricated it and helped him fabricate his medical claims. It is funny to think about how hard he tried, even though he was clearly caught. But obviously the circumstances surrounding everything is not funny at fucking all. This dude was a complete bag of trash, and the world is better to be rid of him. So rest in piss, Nicholas Rossi. Our next story begins with another false identity, but this one belonged to an actual missing person. This investigation is crazy. It began with a park ranger hearing a woman inside a parked BMW say that she was afraid the man beside her was going to hurt her. Interesting. On the morning of June 19th, 2026, a U.S. Park Police Ranger noticed a disturbance inside a black BMW near Independence Hall in Philadelphia. The man inside the car was identified as 44-year-old Eugene Albert Horsch. The woman presented an identification card containing her photograph, but the name on the card was not hers, and in fact belonged to another woman, a woman who had been reported missing from Philadelphia in February of 2023. The woman inside the car reportedly told authorities that she did have outstanding warrants and was using the false identity to avoid being arrested. She said she's never personally met the missing woman. But things get even more interesting. Authorities searched the vehicle. Investigators reported finding cocaine, fentanyl, marijuana. It's a party on four wheels. But then we got 2 firearms with the serial numbers removed, switchblade knives, a collapsible baton, a cattle prod device, false credentials identifying Horsch as an agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration. The false DEA identification reportedly used Horsch's photograph, but the name Eugene Frederick Steiner, the lost Steiner brother. Horsch was arrested on drug and gun charges. This is where it gets even crazier, because the false identity belonging to the missing woman gave investigators a reason to look at him more closely. So then they go and they find out where he lives. They obtained access to his home on West Chew Avenue. C-H-E-U. Chewy. Charleston Chew. West Chew Avenue in Philadelphia's only neighborhood. The property is a deteriorating 3-story house with boarded windows. Now in the Northeast, that's what we call a triple decker. It's 3 different floors. It's a house, but it's 3 floors. Every family gets 1 floor. Inside, authorities reported finding a 9mm firearm, ammunition, a marijuana growing operation, additional fake law enforcement identification, computer equipment, hidden compartments, several urns, bank cards bearing the name of the woman missing since 2023, a death certificate belonging to another woman, bottles containing chemicals and unknown liquids, hoses extending from barrels, 55-gallon drums, and a handwritten letter that appeared to describe harming people. Not only harming people, but also praising Ted Bundy, which that's fun. Philadelphia police became concerned about the unidentified chemicals. Officials said some of the substances could become hazardous if mixed or ignited. Yeah, of course. If you accidentally pour bleach into house cleaning chemicals, you will surely die if you don't run out of your house in time. You can create mustard gas by accident. Just try by trying to get a nice sheen to your sink. It's not publicly known whether the chemicals were being used to manufacture drugs or conduct some other type of experiment. The FBI brought in their forensic specialists. Investigators entered the building wearing protective equipment and hazmat suits. Homicide detectives also became involved. And then they found the letter. The letter appeared to discuss planning an act of violence in advance. It referenced needing to have large zip ties ready and having a drum prepared. A drum barrel, one of those 55-gallon drum barrels. Investigators have not established who wrote the letter. They also have not established whether it describes a real event, a threat, or fantasy writing as part of a fictional work. Oh, some nice, Rex Heuermann fanfic. What if I was the serial killer? We still don't know the name of the woman who appeared on that false identification. She disappeared from Philadelphia's Kensington neighborhood in February 2023. Kensington, if you don't know, it's like the Skid Row of Philadelphia. It's real bad. I think it might even be worse than Skid Row at this point. Just people on drugs, laying in the street, dying every day. They're now trying to determine whether she knew Horsch, how he obtained her identifying and personal information, why her name was selected, and what happened to her after she disappeared. There's another woman, Amy McHale. The search renewed attention on the disappearance of Amy McHale. She disappeared in June 2016. She had previously been married to Horsch's father, R.C. Horsch. So now both of these Horsches have 2 women that have disappeared on their watch. Her family says that she was last known to have been staying at or closely connected to the Chew Avenue property. Police questioned the elder Horsch after Amy disappeared, but didn't find anything. Her case remains unsolved, and now, almost exactly 10 years later, investigators are searching the same property after discovering evidence connected to a second missing woman. So what a weird story, but we will keep you updated on that one. Going to another weird story here, Blaise Taylor and the alleged cocaine poisoning. Prosecutors say Jade Benning did not secretly consume an enormous amount of cocaine. They say the father of her unborn child placed it inside her drink, waited until their friends left, and then watched as she began to die. Former Tennessee Titan scout Blaise Taylor is now on trial for the deaths of Jade Benning and her unborn daughter. Jade Benning, who is she? She was 25 years old. She was approximately 24 weeks pregnant. She was expecting a daughter she planned to name Ivy. Benning had been dating Blaise Taylor, a former college football player who later worked as a scout for the Tennessee Titans. Prosecutors say Taylor did not want to become a father. On the evening of February 25th, Benning invited her friends over to her Nashville apartment. They cooked dinner and painted decorations for the baby's room. Oh, that's sweet. That was like the fun stuff, getting everything ready for the baby. The excitement of the child, not fully being there yet, but you're able to prepare and celebrate them anyway. Get them ready to come into a loving world. And after Benning's friends left, she and Taylor were alone inside the apartment. A short time later, Benning became violently ill. Benning was reportedly contacting her friends while she was experiencing this medical emergency. Prosecutors say she was communicating her belief to her friends that her drink had been poisoned. Taylor called 911 and reported that Benning was having a medical emergency. He was suggesting that she's probably having an allergic reaction. EMTs were able to take her to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Doctors said she was clinically dead when she arrived, but continued efforts to save her. Ivy, her unborn child, still had a faint heartbeat, but in the end, neither Jade or the baby survived. That is so goddamn sad. Testing revealed an extremely high level of cocaine in Benning's system. The medical examiner testified that the concentration was among the highest she had ever encountered during thousands of autopsies. Prosecutors are arguing that the amount is inconsistent with recreational use and that Benning had been intentionally poisoned. Prosecutors allege that Taylor placed cocaine inside a drink Benning was consuming. And that's another thing, too. How would you not know? Cocaine is very bitter. I've heard. There is absolutely no way you wouldn't know that you're consuming it within the first couple seconds of ingesting that. But their proposed motive centers on the pregnancy. Witnesses testified that Taylor did not want Benning to continue the pregnancy and did not want the child to carry his name or know that he was the father. Great guy. The prosecution also called the woman who had previously become pregnant during relationships with Taylor. Testimony demonstrated Taylor's reactions to previous pregnancies and the pressure he allegedly placed on women to terminate them. Taylor has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys argued that the prosecution has no direct evidence showing him placing cocaine inside Benning's drink. Well, yeah, of course. Short of them having video of him being like, sprinkling it in, of course there's not going to be any direct evidence. The container Benning allegedly drank from was not preserved as evidence. Ouch. Bad police work right there. There's no video. The defense has challenged the handling of the apartment as a crime scene, the chain of custody surrounding physical evidence, Benning's previous drug history, whether the investigators formed their theory before fully exploring other possibilities, whether the toxicology evidence can establish who introduced the cocaine. Okay, so now this is like they're going full Karen Reed defense here. The defense argues the case is based on assumptions layered over circumstantial evidence. I mean, that's an interesting one. If you're trying to terminate someone's pregnancy, would you sprinkle in a deadly amount of cocaine into a drink? It's a hard one to wrap your mind around. But the medical examiner testified that Benning did die from acute cocaine toxicity. The precise legal classification of the death and the ability to determine exactly how the cocaine entered her system have become major points of dispute. If you can't see it in the nose, then it's got to be through the stomach. Unless she was shooting up. The prosecution argues that the concentration was so extreme that deliberate poisoning is the only reasonable explanation. And the defense is saying that they can agree with that. There was an unusually high toxicology result, but that doesn't automatically mean Taylor is the person responsible. The trial shouldn't be too much longer. I believe the prosecution already rested. It's all on the defense now. We'll keep you updated on that one as well. So thank you so much for listening. We got a whole slate of exciting things coming up in the next weeks, months, and beyond. I got some exciting things I want to tell you guys about, but I'm not going to do it yet. Tee-hee. All right, guys. Hope you're starting your week off right. And until next time, don't go dying on us. Bye-bye.